So our next project is actually going to be just a simple shelf like these next two. It just takes a few boards. You can do one shelf, you can do two shelves. The one that I'm going to build is just one shelf. So once you get your material, you just need to pick a couple that you want to match. I like my species to be the same, so you just kind of position out your boards where you want them. I used all poplar on this one. I started with a small, and actually it grew as my project went along. I ended up adding a few more boards because I found a board that I really liked. The next thing I'm going to do is get my boards to the length that I want. So you can do this with a miter saw if you have one. I have a couple, but I wanted to show that it's also really easy to do with a handsaw. You can get one at your local box store. Just make your marks, square them up, and make your cuts. They don't have to be even perfectly straight. You can do them at an angle if you want to add a little bit of character to your shelf. So I wanted my shelf to actually be a little bit shorter than the length of the boards that are going to actually hang on the wall. So I went ahead and measured and then marked and cut those down to the right size. Okay, I'm over here. I'm going to go ahead and glue this up. I'm going to do my edge gluing. So one of these boards is kind of, it's got a little extra here and it's not really tight here. If this is something that you're actually going to put a lot of pressure on and need to really stay together, if it was twisting and turning, if it was high quality wood, I would straighten all of these out on the table saw. But a lot of this stuff is going to have nails, and we can't send that stuff through. But you can actually just take a basic plane, and like if I want to trim a little off this edge and kind of straighten it out. And that looks a lot better. So we can do the same thing right here. Now this is small enough that it's going to fit in the laser, so I can go ahead and get this glued up. And then the whole thing, I'm going to burn an image. Not sure what it's yet going to be, but I'm going to burn an image. These bar clamps, I'm going to start in the middle, make sure everything's flat. And I'm going to pull them in tight. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use these bar clamps and pull everything nice and tight, make sure everything's flat. Top one I'm spinning around to kind of straighten out the boards because they aren't perfect. Okay, I took off the clamps and I'm left with this. You got a couple options to put an image up here. You can do Mod Podge with a print. You can paste the Mod Podge on, you can press on your print, and we peel it off and leave it behind the ink. There's a couple other ways you can YouTube videos. Polyacrylic works really well as long as it's a flat surface. This is not so flat, so Mod Podge would be the way to go. We have access to a laser, so that's what we're going to do. We are going to laser on an image here. Then once I have my laser done, I'm going to slap my shelf on and call it done. When I was building my house, I had to tear down some old foundation, and what they used for fill was some carburetors from maybe a Model A or a tractor. I also have an old Model A that my father and I rebuilt. So this is what I'm going to put on my image and then put my shelf on. I tried to stand there and watch the whole engraving process, but that took way too long. So there's my finished product. Last thing I'll need to do is pull out and add my shelf. You may notice that my shelf actually got a little bit longer. I decided that the things that I wanted to put on there, old beer cans that I found in the walls of the cement block, walls that I tore down in my house, and the carburetor and other old things wouldn't have fit on that shorter shelf. So I added a couple more pallet boards and used old rough-sawn lumber that actually came out of the house that I tore down. I put 4 deck screws in. I use deck screws because they kind of drill their own hole, and you tend not to have as much cracking, so I didn't have to worry about drilling a pilot hole first. The other thing I noticed is it really straightened out the shelf so it'll hang flat on the wall. The last thing I need to do is plan how you want to hang it on the wall. There's going to be 2 screws, 16 inches apart, hidden studs. If you have any comments, suggestions, leave them below. Thanks.